So I wanted to talk, first of all, before we get into the conversation with Jeff, about some of the challenges that exist in managing restaurant operations. So we know that technology has proliferated in hospitality operations, from order confirmation boards, self-service kiosks, and digital signage. Each of these technologies requires installation, maintenance, and oftentimes synchronization with the point of sale. In addition, restaurant operations has increased demand on the technology group to support multiple menus or concepts, seasonal and regional items, and in the case of one quick service that we've worked with, subscribing to a dynamic pricing service where individual store prices could be updated weekly. This is to say nothing of HR, inventory, time clock, and other software running in the store. Furthermore, each of these applications gathers data that needs to be pulled back to the corporate office for data analysis and reporting. So as I mentioned in the introductions, we have Jeff Peterson from Noodles & Company here to talk about his experiences with some of these issues, his company's need for a tool for managing changes, and his success in implementing an enterprise management solution. So, do you see here some of the items that we talked about, these challenges that we have? I'm going to have a poll here that I'd like to put up. If you would let us know, what kind of challenges are you experiencing in your stores, in your operations, and then as much as possible as we go through and talk today with Jeff, we'll steer the conversation in that direction. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to respond. So prior to implementing an enterprise solution, making updates to Aloha system was a manual, resource-intensive process for Jeff. So Jeff, if you could, would you describe for us the process that you were using to make changes to your Aloha system before getting an enterprise solution?
Absolutely, and I want to say thank you for the nice introduction, and good afternoon to everybody that's out there. Previously, I mean, we had started with just 17 restaurants where it was the manual process of dialing into the stores and making the changes in Aloha itself. From there, that just scaled out of perspective very quickly to where the individual DBF files could be edited using different DBF editing tools, right down even to Excel. And we would have to take those individual DBF files for whatever changes we wanted to implement and then make changes to those, and then have a process that actually sent those individual DBFs to specific stores and implemented those into the database. A big concern with that whole process was accountability or validation that those updates actually went out to the stores and were implemented.
So Jeff, you had no way of knowing if the updates were successful?
That was yeah, the biggest problem with that process.
Okay, and in addition to managing Aloha at the time, were there other systems or applications that you had to manage alongside of?
We've had other applications that have run alongside of our Aloha. We have an HR interface that we push files out, that we actually update our employee files at the restaurants. And since then, we've increased and have more applications that we are maintaining.
All right. Thanks. So, as Noodles & Company began to grow, you started recognizing that there was a risk that as the company was growing. At what point did you realize that you needed an enterprise solution?
That realization came pretty quickly as our company was growing and we were adding more restaurants, and as the operations team and culinary and the different departments wanted to start implementing these changes, new menu items, and there's constantly promotions that are going on, and so you need to react to all those requests and have a way that you could effectively and with some guarantees make those changes at the restaurants. So
you had some issues scaling as well with your existing resources. What were you looking at in terms as the company was growing, how that manual process was going to work?
The problem was it wasn't going to work. That was why we needed to be looking for an alternative or a solution that was going to be something that could grow with the company and we could feel comfortable.
Excellent. And as the number of changes came in, are you talking just about changing menu items? What does that encompass in terms of these changes that you were having to support?
Well, menu items is, I mean, that's a very broad spectrum of changes. You have existing items, you have testing of new items, and then you have company rollouts. So, I mean, price changes are a small part of that big picture.
And you had devices that you had to support. What sorts of devices were you supporting in the store?
We use kitchen video.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you have a new item, you have to sometimes reconfigure those or set up new groups to have different routing for the video in the kitchens.
All right, and what kind of data differences were you supporting from one unit to another?
I have 180 prototypes. So everyone has some unique qualities, you know, from tax rates, which it's a big thing, to how their kitchens are designed, what items need to route to what videos in the kitchen. Some have additional video monitors that other stores don't have.
All right. And I suppose, you know, one of the challenges that you were facing was, you know, how to be able to support all of that without spending a lot of money.
Absolutely, yep. And a way to keep it organized so that you can have a reference to look at and know that one store, one restaurant has an extra video or a different printer or maybe an additional item that they're testing.
Excellent. So you recognize that there was a need out there, that what you were doing before, this manual process, wasn't going to continue to work for you. So how did you go about finding a solution?
You know, the different trade shows, and obviously our first choice was to talk to the people at Radiant and look at their product. Looked at their CDM, this was several years ago, and it just didn't really accommodate all the differences that we had from store to store.
Okay. So specifically, you're talking about that need, as you were putting it, to manage 180 different prototype stores with all of their unique characteristics.
Precisely, yes. That was the obstacle to overcome.
And so then you had a visit from Real Time to discuss EDM?
I did. I had met with our account manager, and the developer came to our corporate office in Colorado, and quickly I identified how this product could overcome some of the challenges that I had to overcome.
So if you could elaborate on that for you, Jeff, what were some of the features of EDM specifically that drew you towards that product?